I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
I
think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to
I'm
these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my
Yeah,
tickets.
so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. Somebody's got money.
In this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind on a hump day Wednesday right here on the Sports Grid Network. This is the Early Line. I'm Donnie Rightside, and he is Joe Ranieri. And as you know, the next 2 hours, we got you covered, people. All the hottest topics across the sports landscape to get you ready for your Sports Grid day. And more importantly, what's going to happen today and also into the future. We do this all the time. It's old hat. It's Donnie and Joe. Joe, how we feeling today, man?
I'm feeling good, man. Looking forward to some college football playoff action, maybe a bowl game or two, and picking right back up with the NBA season here tonight and moving forward.
Yeah, only a doubleheader tonight after one game last night, which is the NBA Cup final. If you watch this program, we told you get on those New York Knicks as they won the NBA Cup. But it's time to get caffeinated with the hottest topic of the day. Here's Joe.
Well, Donnie, I'm glad you brought that up because today I have a confession to make. Because for 3 years now, I have been just a bit skeptical of the NBA Cup. I thought it was, a gimmick. I thought the courts were ugly. I thought that nobody cared. But I got to tell you, after watching the New York Knicks hoist that trophy last night in Vegas, I'm okay at admitting that maybe I was wrong here, and hats off to Adam Silver, because you might have finally got me and sold me on this, and you might be onto something here. Now, first off, congratulations to the Knicks for finally winning something that allows them to hang a banner in Madison Square Garden again. I mean, sure, it's not the Larry O'Brien, but hey, Knicks fans, you'll take what you can get, am I right? But the real story last night wasn't the trophy or the banner. It was actually the bag, Donnie. And we watched the Knicks beat the Spurs in what was a tremendous game. But the guys who actually were responsible down the stretch for winning that game for the Knicks, they weren't the ones making $50 million, Donnie. It was Tyler Kolek and Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench and playing like their lives depended on it. And guess what? Well, their bank account certainly depended on it, because Kolek is a third-string point guard that makes $2 million a year. Jordan Clarkson is making about $3.5 million. In NBA terms, that is awful money. That is humble money. But because they won last night, they each walked away with a bonus check of $500,000. Now, for a guy like Kolek, that's 25% raise in one night. And you saw how he played in the fourth quarter. He made really smart decisions for a third-string point guard. He set up Anunoby stepping up when Jalen Brunson made a mistake. This wasn't just passion here for Kolek. This was a man also knowing in the back of his head somewhere he was securing the bag, Donnie. And this is why I think this tournament works. We know Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns don't need a $500,000 check. That's change in their couch cushions. But you know what motivates them? Brotherhood. They know that check is good for Tyler Kolek's life and Jordan Clarkson's life. They know it matters to rookies and young players and two-way guys. And in a league ruined by ego, where superstars usually only care about their own brand, we watched the Knicks stars last night, including Karl Anthony Towns, hobbled, fight tooth and nail, not only to get the win, but to help their teammates get paid. That builds chemistry, Donnie. That builds trust. That's how you build a locker room that you can actually win a real championship in June with. And for the Spurs, well, this tournament builds experience. They're a young team, Donnie, with some growing pains ahead of them. But ask OKC and Indiana how finishing runner-up in this tournament worked out for them. So call it a gimmick if you want, but when you see multi-millionaire superstars playing hard for no other reason than their teammates, well, that's compelling TV in this NBA. The Knicks got the trophy, Kolek and Jordan got the cash, and while the NBA finally made a believer out of me, Donnie. Gotta love the NBA Cup.
You do got to love the NBA Cup, and also the NBA understands this. It can't be in Vegas, people. Unless you're getting the Lakers, it just doesn't work. Because Adam Silver also said, look, sports teams, sports leagues do not do anything for the fans, contrary to your beliefs out here. The fact that they're not selling tickets in Vegas, they also, why don't we move it to some college campus? Boy, that's real interesting because they're not throwing you a bone at that point. And also understand this. What was better for Knicks fans last night? Winning a cup out there in Las Vegas, or if that game was just home in Madison Square Garden, the atmosphere would have probably been pretty cool to watch it play out. Home court advantage matters, people. Just remember that. But the NBA Cup, maybe getting a little bit closer to getting this thing right here, as we point out here. Great Caffeinated Joe segment here on a Wednesday. Let's get to the early lineup and the hottest topics, which does include those New York Knicks. We told you yesterday here. Ooh, look at all the money coming in on the Spurs. That line holding firm at 2.5. Take those New York Knicks. And they won the NBA Cup last night in Vegas, just as we predicted on the show, Joe.
And a team effort. I mean, what can you say? It was refreshing to see for a game, Donnie, that, by the way, for both teams means nothing in the long term here. It doesn't count for the regulars. They don't get any credit for that win last night. And yet you'd have thought that was a game 7 of a championship, the way they all laid it out on the line. And that, if they can harness that in the NBA, I think they're on to something.
How about Mike McDaniel open the benching to us? See, this is refreshing here at this point now because the season is over for the Miami Dolphins. And if anybody watched Tua Tagovailoa over the years, like, can he be a good quarterback? Maybe he's not. Boy, he gets concussions. Oh, he played well in this game. But when you have to step up, particularly and play in colder weather, which sometimes includes winds, he cannot do that. He showed up in the biggest game of the Dolphins season in absolute zero, and his coach was right to call him out. It'll be interesting to see how these final games play out in Miami, Joe.
Yeah. Well, McDaniel's got to be worried somebody doesn't sack him first. The problem is you gave the guy $212 million extension in 2024, Donnie. And, he counts to about almost $60 million in dead cap money if you cut him between now and 2026. So you're stuck with him. Now, if you want to pay him to be the backup, congrats. But once again, the Dolphins got a lot of questions ahead of them.
They do got a lot of questions. Alan Lazard released by the Jets as if they don't need as much talent on the roster as they can handle. But, Joe, I'm going to give you one guess. Where does Alan Lazard wind up?
As a personal assistant to Aaron Rodgers.
There you go.
That's all he does is follow him, Donnie. So now he's out of the Jets. Is it going to be with Pittsburgh? I don't know. If you can't actually make the Jets roster, what? All right, Lazard. There's always cutting the lawn, I guess, of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
That's true. Adam Silver says, you know what? We're going to make that determination on expansion in 2026. Probably a couple areas that they want to get back into. Seattle Supersonics need to come back here, and maybe even a team in Vegas. How about that?
We had that as one of our Cal Sheet questions a couple of weeks ago. Like, where is that expansion team coming? And they really want to get one in Seattle, but you were right about Vegas. Those top two choices. The question is, did they both happen at the same time, Doc?
Yeah, and those predictive markets, too, because you have to hold your money up. It's like, will the NBA expand by 2030? Absolutely. 1,000% they would. You knew that was going to happen. He probably could have made a decent buck on that. Nick Saban buying into the NHL. How long before we asked Nick Saban to actually be the head coach of the Nashville Predators? That'd be something.
Please make that happen. That would be fantastic, Donnie. Just please, Saban just throwing a temper tantrum would be fantastic on the ice. I'm all for that.
Ooh, FIFA World Cup holding people hostage over how much actually they can pay for their tickets here. They slashed some of those prices. Yeah, we'll be surprised if anybody even gets their hands on any slashed ticket prices. Over-commercialized for what is supposed to be for the people. It's not for the people. It's for the elite. Feels like F1 now as we play in the World Cup.
Yeah, and well, you better beef up the security when you hold those games here, because there are going to be an awful lot of real soccer fans, Donnie, that can't afford to get into that building, might not exactly be happy about it.
Showing up in town and getting rowdy. Look, I love the fans that come into town for the World Cup here, whether it's United States, whether it's South Africa, wherever the World Cup is held, Qatar at this point. You're shutting out the people that care most. You want the pomp and pageantry in those stadiums? Yeah. Let the people in for a fair price at this point. How about a fair price for Kylian Mbappe? Oh, he's owed $62 million. He's got some good lawyers, man. Imagine him 62. Yeah, just go get me that $62 million, please.
Yeah, just write the check to him too. Another one of the best players in the world. They, you can't just replace an Mbappe. So just pay the man, please. That would be great.
Pay the man his money. Pretty good movie there, as we talk about with KGB from back in the day on some Rounders action. We're playing poker on this show. We'll be up next with the biggest spread lines that you need to know right here on the Early Line.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Top spread lines here that you need to know on a hump day Wednesday. We can see the weekend from here. And by the way, if you are waiting, tomorrow night is NFL action. Then we give way to Friday night, which is going to have college football playoff action. Then Saturday is going to have college football playoff action and NFL action. Then Sunday is going to have NFL action. You get the point, people. And next week, the Christmas holiday season is officially underway. But let's get to some of those top spread lines you need to know before we actually get there. The 19th, Joe, that's a Friday night. Friday night. Whoa. 11 a.m. on a Friday. Kennesaw State, Western Michigan. Wake up with a cup of coffee and knock down a football game. As we see Western Michigan favored by about 3.5 points in a total of 48.5. It's bowl season, Joe. Time to get merry. What is your spread line for this game?
The Myrtle Beach Bowl. You got to love this, Donnie. 11 a.m. on a Friday. You're going to have some football. And can I tell you, Donnie, this might be one of the more exciting and motivated football games that we see in bowl season. Why? Because neither of these two teams were expected to be here. Kansas State has never been to a bowl game. First and foremost, they just got to the FBS level last year, and Western Michigan has, I think, just one bowl game in the last decade. So nobody has opted out. Everybody wants to play in this game. And this, Donnie, is what bowl season, what these two represent, is supposed to be all about. Now, we saw Western Michigan, your MAC champion there, open up 4.5, but the Kennesaw State money has been coming in down to a field goal now. The total as well, also getting a little bit of love. 49.5 was the open, 47.5 starting to pop up. So the one thing I can say is we're probably going to get a little more defense with Western Michigan in this one than we're used to seeing in these bowl games. But I think this is going to be a close one, Donnie. But I do agree with the move to the under on the total because both these teams, they've not been here and done this before.
Now, is this game being played in Myrtle Beach or just sponsored by Myrtle Beach? Like, where's the game at? Is that at Coastal Carolina, or where is this game? Do we know?
Presented by Engine. I don't even know what that is, but yes, Donnie, you'd be hard pressed not to play this game in Myrtle Beach and call it the Myrtle Beach Bowl. That would be great. It's in Virginia, actually. That would be fantastic.
Alabama and Oklahoma, Joe. This is a Friday night football game you're going to have to watch here. And you take a look at the favorite here. It's actually Alabama at a -1.5 to -1, depending where you're shopping at, roughly a pick 'em and a total. Look at this one. 40.5 points here, Joe. Spread line for Alabama, Oklahoma to open the college football playoff season is what?
Donnie, watching this line over the last week, it is crazy the amount of flip-flopping going on. And at half the books have it as maybe a pick 'em, then they shade to Oklahoma. The other half, of course, shade to Alabama. We're starting to see a little bit more Bama love in the marketplace, 1.5 in some spots. But you're right with that total, Donnie, right? 40.5. We're talking about Alabama here. 40.5. I can't think of a bigger game, Donnie, that is correlated to the total than this one. If you like Alabama, this game is likely going over. If you like Oklahoma, Donnie, this game is likely staying under the 40.5.
Yeah, I don't know if we see 21 points from Oklahoma in the first half in this game. Quite frankly, I don't know if we see 21 points for Oklahoma in the entire football game, but you never know. They're going to play for a big-time event. And also, is this the Kalen DeBoer Bowl where he wins, he stays at Alabama, he loses, he heads to another place? Certainly going to have to find out on that. Tulane and Ole Miss, Joe, another game we're going to take a look at for the college football playoff, 3:30 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Tulane's going to travel to Ole Miss. That line opened up around 16.5. That's punched through that 17 number, now up to 17.5 with a total of 56.5. Can Tulane keep this close? We're looking at a blowout for Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin, Joe. Your spread line here is what?
Well, we're starting to see, I mean, this was 16.5 and it opened, Donnie. We have started to see the Ole Miss money. And listen, the public is never going to take Tulane because they're going to be like, didn't they play earlier this year and didn't they get blown out? Yes, they did. But keep in mind, they played back in September. This Tulane team is not the same team that was back in September when they played Ole Miss. So there's a feeling and a consensus that maybe Tulane believes they have a much better shot in this one than they did in September. I mean, listen, the coach is there, Ratzlaff is there, the quarterback, they're all in here, and there's no Lane Kiffin. That's the big difference here. Will it matter? I think we're going to start seeing Tulane money sooner rather than later before kick. So grab as many points as you can if you want Tulane, because I don't think we're going to be getting 17.5 by the time it's kickoff.
It is a Hump Day Wednesday, but start your NFL action on a Thursday night and a huge game in the NFC West, Joe. You got the Rams traveling to Seattle to take on the Seahawks here. Going to be Darnold versus Stafford. We look at the line. Open up around a -1.5 point favorite for the Rams. Still sitting in that range, Joe, but the under has been dropping here. Should have said the total. 46.5 at the opening numbers. We now see 44.5 and 43.5 starting to creep into the marketplace. You might ask why. Well, it is Seattle. Some rain is in the forecast, but not a lot. But, Joe, 50-degree temperatures, sustained winds to start that game, around 20 miles per hour here. Big game Thursday night. What's your spread line?
Well, it's so funny, Donnie, right? Because this was the game we saw Sam Darnold throw, 4 interceptions in earlier this year. And, boy, the Seahawks still almost won it. And now, of course, you've got injury concerns here with the Rams. But this game, from the market perspective, feels a lot like that Alabama OU game. You can't figure out who the favorite is. It keeps going back and forth. The Rams are a point favorite. The Seahawks are a point favorite. The only thing everyone seems to be a consensus on is that the total is way too high. 44.5. It's a key number here, right? 43 is a pretty key number in totals in the NFL. I agree. I tend to think, especially with the injuries, maybe less is coming scoring-wise in this one.
Saturday Night Football in the NFL. It's going to be Green Bay and Chicago. The NFL made certainly a marked choice a couple years ago to make sure we got these divisional games late in the season, and they're paying dividends. Thursday night game, Saturday night game. Love and Williams, favorite here. Green Bay, slightly, though, down from 3.5 to about 1.5 marketplace, and you see that total at 46.5, Joe. What's your spread line for this game? Packers and the Bears.
Oh, it is all Bears money, Donnie. All Bears money. Keep an eye on this one. Need to know exactly who's playing and not. But my goodness, nobody is buying the Packers here on the road as a favorite, apparently. They're taking as much Bear stock as possible here. We'll have to keep an eye on this one.
66% of those tickets coming in on those Chicago Bears. Nobody wants the Packers after Micah Parsons went down. We'll find out on Saturday night. We'll be right back with more NFL Hot Topics next.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Playoffs? playoffs. Yeah, the playoffs are coming up soon here. We got 3 games left in the regular season before we hit those wild card rounds here. If we take a quick snapshot, if the season ended today, what that field would look like. How about the number 1 seeds in the NFL? One starting in the AFC, the Denver Broncos starting in the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams making the playoffs in the AFC. Houston, Buffalo, Los Angeles, New England, Jacksonville, and Pittsburgh. If we flip it over to the NFC, it's the Green Bay Packers. It is the Chicago Bears, the Niners, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers. A lot's going to be changed down the stretch over the next 3 games, which includes those Pittsburgh Steelers currently sitting there in the 4 spot, which would mean that they would win their division with the 4 seed and also heading into the playoffs with a home game here. Huge game on Monday Night Football for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they upended the Miami Dolphins. The rest of their schedule, Joe, the Detroit Lions and the Browns, both on the road, and then that pivotal game for the Baltimore Ravens, the final game of the season. As football fans here, well, maybe not Steeler fans, you hope that that final game of the season means the winner goes to the playoffs, the loser goes home, and a conference championship could be on the horizon. Because why? They won the division with an automatic spot in the playoffs, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Pittsburgh understands what's ahead of them here, right? Basically, just win and you're in. It's that simple here. You've got a leg up on Baltimore now. You have those games coming up. I don't want to say the Detroit game is not going to make or break them one way or the other, because it's not like Baltimore is playing a cupcake schedule either. I mean, they still have to get past the Patriots, who, if the Patriots win, they're in. So there's a lot on the line in Week 16, but it's simple, Pittsburgh. Win the games, and you're in. It's that you don't need help from anybody else. And I think that's, as you head into Week 16, Donnie, what else could you ask for if you're Pittsburgh at this point?
You always want to control your own destiny. You don't want to have the scoreboard. They say, turn the scoreboards off. Let's win our game here, and let's move on in the playoffs as we go. Another big topic which came out of Monday night was the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. We headed for a fractured relationship. The one thing, though, Joe, when you pay quarterbacks a lot of money, they always like to say it's cheaper to keep her, right? So you look at Tua Tagovailoa, yeah, let's trade him and move on, Joe. You wreck your entire payroll for 2026. It's almost better to bench him and keep him on your football team so you don't take that cap hit and you can still hit the free agent market. Tua Tagovailoa has not been sensational by any means. It feels like, Joe, he's just a dome, warm weather quarterback, and you get him anywhere outside, you see the flaws. And the one thing that really hurts Tua is what? Not a lot of arm strength, but also, Joe, if you're going to be that short in stature, you better come with some Kyler Murray quicks here, which says, okay, well, he can maneuver out of the pocket, and if you rush him, he can run for yards. He can't run for yards. He's too slow. He has a soft arm, and he throws way too many interceptions. This isn't working in Miami.
No, well, I mean, he's obviously looks like he has regressed this year, right?
Yeah.
With, 2,600 yards, I think 20 touchdowns in 14 games. Not good. I mean, leading the league in the picks is the big problem there. But again, I'm just curious here, McDaniel, who are you going to? Like, I'm sorry, who gives you a better chance to win than Tua, right? Are you telling me Zach Wilson is the guy you're going to turn to? Or Quinn Ewers, who was the emergency backup for most of it? Like, what are you talking about? Listen, you can say whatever you want. The reality is, one surefire way to lose that locker room is to put a guy under center everyone in that locker room knows can't win the game, and that would be Zach Wilson. Who are we kidding here, Donnie?
I mean, I understand this, too, for Miami. Like, we have what we think is a very good play caller and an innovative head coach. You also have one of the best young running backs in the NFL in Devon Achane. You also had, and again, I understand, injuries do pop into it. Tyreek Hill on one side and Jalen Waddle on the other, and it never worked out. Like, that's not a offensive problem. That's a quarterback problem. Give any other like Matthew Stafford, right? It's got Puka, it works. Jalen Hurts has 2 dominant wide receivers. Take that skill position and move them around to a competent quarterback. That's a damn good football team. More importantly, Joe, a playoff football team. The one common denominator is Tua Tagovailoa just can't get it done at this point here. Another guy that actually can't get it done is Jaden Daniels. Not because we don't think he's a good quarterback. He's just too injured in his sophomore season. They went to the NFC Championship game last year. Now they're headed home for the holidays, and they told their quarterback, enjoy the break. We don't want to see you again.
And he should be ecstatic about that. And I get it. I mean, you were 12-5 a year ago, right? Offensive Rookie of the Year. It was great. You had everything to look forward to this season. But you've already had 3 injuries this season: a knee sprain, you had a hamstring issue, and now you got a dislocated elbow. Now's the time to hang it up and call it a year, all right? And you start over again next year. But yeah, injuries were a big problem, not just for him, but for this Washington team. Hopefully they get it all straightened out. You reset the clock. You start again next year.
Absolutely. Taking a look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Joe, we actually see them way over the cap. But understand this. An owner brings out a pen, writes a couple checks, they're $40 million under the cap. Some of that stuff would have been more of a mirage. More hot topics on the way. Next.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going
I'm
to
saying
these
if I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. They do. Well, somebody's got money.
In this economy,
they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Big game on Thursday Night Football in the NFL, and it's the NFC West going to town. The Los Angeles Rams taking a plane ride up to Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, to take on those Seahawks. Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford. This line, Joe, sits around -1, -1.5, depending where you're shopping at. And the totals, we told you, open up at that 46.5 number, now down to 43.5 at a lot of outlets here. Why? Because there's wind in the atmosphere in Seattle. See how that plays into it. But understand this. Matthew Stafford is a dome quarterback. Matthew Stafford's got an absolute cannon. I don't know how much is going to affect him. But answer me this, Joe. You look at these two teams playing. They're two good teams vying for the top seed in the NFC, which is a huge deal. The Rams don't want to leave the dome. Seattle has a great home field advantage in Seattle. But understand this. What did we see last year heading down the stretch with everything in their grasp? It was the Minnesota Vikings. They had Sam Darnold as a quarterback. They got beat up by the Detroit Lions. Then went into the playoffs and got cracked by the same Los Angeles Rams. I look at this game and say, Sam Darnold, you need this one. If he plays subpar on Thursday, what are we led to believe? Seattle's a nice team, but it's Sam Darnold. He can't win the big game. Talk about Sam Darnold in this game and what it means for him and the Seahawks moving forward.
Well, if you can take anything away from that Week 11 game, right, you can say, listen, I was the worst game ever. 4 interceptions, and yet we still only lost 21-19, right? It wasn't like he folded, Donnie, after he had that kind of game. So, and keep in mind, that was in SoFi. That was nice, cushy SoFi Stadium. Now you get him in your building. You know you have a defense that has allowed 21 or fewer points in 11 of 14 games this season. If I'm Sam Darnold, I don't have to do anything crazy. Like, I don't have to go out there and expect to throw for 300-plus yards. You just can't give the Rams easy possessions like you did. If you eliminate the turnovers, if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm going, just don't protect the ball, and we're going to win this game. Our defense is going to do what they got to do, and we should be able to run the ball in these conditions with our own home crowd.
You're right about that, too. And it's funny because Darnold was awful against the Rams, and yet they still had a legitimate chance to win that game. We'll see if it changes. The one thing I do like about this game, too, is these aren't one-trick pony type of teams. Like, we know Matthew Stafford can do it through the air. Devontae Adams will not play in this game with that hamstring injury. I don't even know if he's going to play the rest of the regular season. Probably look forward to him in the playoffs. Puka Nacua is dominant. They have a great play caller in Sean McVay, but they also have a two-headed monster now in the backfield for the Rams where if conditions aren't great, they can run the football. And, oh, yeah, look at Seattle. They got two quality running backs as well. So these two teams are probably very equipped to play in some challenging weather conditions because also, Joe, both have really good defenses. So I can see windy conditions, game with so much on the line, it feels like a playoff game where that line is dipping. But also, Joe, value sometimes in the eye of the beholder. You get a little bit too low in these two teams that you know can kick it up on offense with big-time weapons. You're like, wait a second. How did this game end up 21-17.5 and need one touchdown in the second half to get this total? It could happen. But if we are looking at the quarterbacks with slightly, let's just say, some weather challenges here, which way would you like to go? Because it looks now that we have a little bit of movement. You see on the graphic, 231.5 is the passing prop for both of these quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is actually up 2 yards currently to 233.5. They are decent passing numbers for a windy game that could be possibly expected. Who are we playing in this game, Darnold or Stafford?
I think we're playing them under in both, if we're being completely honest. And again, we got to keep an eye on exactly who is available here to Stafford. But this doesn't feel as much about the quarterbacks as it's going to be about both sets of running backs, right, Donnie, in this game? Because if I had to guess, I would think McVay is going to give Stafford more of an opportunity maybe to throw the ball in the red zone than McDonald will give Sam Darnold. Like, you can't have Sam Darnold throwing the ball in the red zone. Like, you better be able to run it. So if I was looking for maybe over 1.5 touchdowns, I think I would look towards Stafford because I think there's going to be more trust there. I just don't put Sam Darnold in a position in a windy game there in the elements to try and make big-time passes in big moments.
I'll tell you the one interesting thing, too, Joe, is when you look at wide receivers that are absolutely surefire home runs in the red zone, it's Devontae Adams. He won't be there. So maybe Puka opens up a little bit more for a touchdown prop, or you get some of those tight ends that will be involved. But we all know, Joe, first and goal from the 3, that's not a run for the Rams. That's a quick slant to Devontae Adams, and he won't be there, as we said. So there's some of those anytime touchdown props. We look at Puka Nacua at a plus 100 price, Kyron Williams 115, Jackson Smith and Jigba, fantastic wideout plus 110, then Walker and Charbonnet. If I had to do my double down in this game, Joe, like, I take a look and say, all right, well, give me Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, 165 and 175, and say, I'm going to get one rushing touchdown. That's the way I would play it. Who do you think finds pay dirt in this game Thursday night?
Well, if you like Seattle, they're going to have to find pay dirt, Donnie. It's going to have to be done on the ground here in this game. But, you mentioned it there. Parkinson, if you guys didn't see the game last week, the minute Devontae Adams went down, he all of a sudden became the favorite target of Matt Stafford here, both down the seam and in the red zone. So it would not shock me if the Rams tight end gets a lot more love in this game.
Taking a look here at those rushing props, and again, pretty evenly spread out. Kyron Williams for the Rams, 55.5. His backfield mate, Blake Corum, 38.5. You take a look at the Seattle Seahawks. Kenneth Walker III, 45.5, and close behind, Charbonnet at 35.5. Any running backs that pique your attention in this game? We talked about the touchdown props. Who's going to get the bulk of the backfield work here?
Yeah, that's going to be the interest. It seems like it's a 60-40 split right now. Is kind of what we're starting to see there. And I think maybe just a hot hand, Donnie. I mean, I don't know that you can zone in on one guy or the other because it does feel like we've seen Kyron Williams get some red zone opportunities. We've seen Blake Corum get them as well. So it feels like both coaches like going with whoever has the hot hand at the time. But Charbonnet feels like the guy on the goal line that is most likely to get the carries.
Now, you're not getting any discounts here at that wide receiver position because we got two flat-out superstars. It's Puka Nacua and it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. You look at Puka Nacua, he's at 94.5. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 91.5. Both of those guys will be around that number. So the value might be, again, a little bit down the list in those number two options. Cooper Kupp, 33.5. Rashid Shaheed, 35.5. Because the one thing we do know is defenses aren't stupid. They're going to come into the game and say, we got to slow down Puka. We're going to double him. We're going to roll coverage over. Somebody else has to win. And also, Joe, the correlated markets that you look at. Okay, well, Puka gets his. Jackson Smith-Njigba gets his. Let's just say both of those guys go for 100 yards. Well, we just saw the quarterback props, Joe. 230, let's call it. There's still 130 yards passing on both of these quarterback side that somebody else has to pick up. So outside of Puka and JSN, are we looking Rashid Shaheed finally starting to get back into rhythm there with Sam Darnold? Here's a deep shot. Cooper Kupp reliable in the slot. Or take a look at some of those other opportunities here, which aren't up yet because we're waiting to see once Devontae Adams is ruled out, who pops in to that secondary slot at the wide receiver spot.
Well, you're right about Rashid Shaheed, right? Because his number is extremely low. And it took him a little while, obviously, to get on the same page and get up to speed. But the way I see it is he's gotten, 67 and 74 receiving yards the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
On 12 total targets in those games. So no reason for me to think that they're going to go away from him now. And listen, teams have the guy that they want to stop, right, on Seattle. And that leaves, Shaheed in a pretty good opportunity to catch some passes. And what was the number? 32.5, 33.5 total receiving yards? Yeah, I'll go over. I got no problem with that.
All right, let's take a look here, Joe, at the NFC West winner, because there are three teams vying for it. Two teams with 11 wins, one team with 10 wins here. The Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. The Rams are the favorite at minus 165, followed by the Seahawks at plus 220. And then there's the Niners at a plus 650 price with an easy schedule down the stretch. Any biting there for the 49ers at plus 650, or do you just feel the winner of this football game will win that division?
It feels like, Seattle does themselves a huge favor. They'll notch a playoff appearance, right, with a win against the Rams. I think the Rams have already guaranteed themselves a playoff spot here. So, it's not do or die for the Rams. I think Seattle like to get it done. But why are we sleeping with that schedule on the 49ers? The 49ers at that price could very well, these two teams slip up. Oh, boy.
Could happen here. Bowl games coming up next. You know I hate it. You know Joe loves them. That's why we have two people on the show, people. We'll be right back.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to these
I'm
games.
a fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. They do.
In this economy,
they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Joe, they like to say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? No matter what time across the globe, somebody's just getting off work, ready to pop open a beer, sit back, relax, and watch some football. And you can do that tonight at 5 o'clock. There is a bowl game. It's ODU, and it's South Florida. The Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Don't miss this one, Joe. And by the way, lines are moving. Opening line, around 6.5 for South Florida, Joe. I'm seeing 2.5s across the marketplace now as still a favorite for South Florida. ODU only getting 30% of the tickets, Joe, but the market coming down, now a 52 also, down from a 56.5. Are we expecting defense, or is it just, what the heck are we getting out of South Florida? And we don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, Donnie and I had mentioned this the other day. I wish this game had both full rosters and coaching staffs, right? Because this would have been one wild game to see happen. But both teams have dynamic dual-threat quarterbacks that won't be here. Colton Joseph, we told you there for ODU, has opted out, hit the transfer portal, and Byron Brown also out. And these guys are very important to what these teams did all year because they're 1,000-yard rushers in addition to slinging the ball all over the field. But don't forget, South Florida doesn't have their head coach. And by the way, most of the offensive staff left with him, including the OC. So the backup quarterback does have a Gaston Moore. He's got 40 yards on 21 total pass plays in relief this year. That's your starter for South Florida. So I think this game is going to be all on the ground, Donnie. Both teams still can run the ball, and I believe that's why we're starting to see a little under money. I would only play the under here. So many question marks with South Florida, and ODU has a more capable backup quarterback in there. But the reality is they're not going to be throwing the ball all over the place. That takes practices and reps. And no, they're going to run the ball. This is going to be all about the trenches. Only an under for me here tonight.
How about Louisiana and Delaware tonight? Get a load of this. The 68 Ventures Bowl. It's going to be game number 2 tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Joe. And the favorite, Louisiana at -2.5 to 3, depending where you're shopping at. And the total in this game that is listed at 62.5. And by the way, that opening number, Joe, 55.5. Points are expected. Not a lot of punts tonight. Louisiana and Delaware. What are we looking at?
No, I love another one of these games, Donnie, and they're few and far between in the bowl games where there are no significant player opt-outs in this game. So what you saw during the regular season is what you're going to get here. Now, what we did get is a lot of mediocre football. But Louisiana Lafayette was an absolute train wreck to start the season until they made the quarterback change in week 5. And who did they go to? Lunch Winfield, baby. That's right. Winfield came under center. Yes. And Lafayette all of a sudden started being able to put some points on the board. Listen, Delaware's defense is not very good. Their offense is all about Nick Minucci. This kid throws the ball all over the place. I mean, 482 passes, Donnie, but he only threw 7 interceptions. So this kid he can sling it, and he's going to have to here. I agree with there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Are we getting 62? It feels like maybe this is a good time to back the under in these bowl games because it really is all about next year for both these teams.
Shout out the Italian Stallion at quarterback tonight for those Delaware Hens here. Let's keep it moving, Joe. Missouri State and Arkansas State. This game's going to take place tomorrow night at 9 p.m., the Xbox Bowl. So if I'm a kid playing, you know you're getting an Xbox, probably multiple controllers, and also, more importantly, multiple games as well. We'll see who wins this one, Missouri State versus Arkansas State. Opening line was about 2.5 for Arkansas State. That's dropped a little bit now, -1.5 in the total, down from 56.5, Joe, and we're seeing 54.5. The Xbox Bowl tonight. Missouri State, Arkansas State.
Yeah, you got to love this one, right, Donnie? Because we have seen a little bit of love in the marketplace, and you got to love an Xbox Bowl, right? I mean, I wonder, do the kids are they allowed to get
Let's just play it on the Xbox.
Yeah, you know what, Donnie? I love that. Yeah. Also, this is another one of those motivational games here where, neither of these two teams have a whole lot of defectors here. I mean, this is, Donnie, exactly what bowl season's supposed to be about, right? Two teams that don't get an awful lot of bowl love, two teams that don't have to worry about guys running into the portal, two experienced head coaches here. This one is going to be good, but you're going to sense a theme here. I do like Arkansas State. They are the more experienced team. But again, if you're expecting wild, crazy shootouts, not necessarily the case in a lot of these games. I might be looking at the under as well.
Have you ever seen, Joe, one of those gaming conventions where they have, like, let's just say, World of Warcraft or whatever it's called, where they have like an arena and they have all the competitors with different TVs playing on the floor? Understand this, Joe. In this bowl game, what happens if we just sent the kids in? We had the football field out there look nice, but we set up tables. Every player got their own TV and their controller where they can play themselves. So you would actually play the game 11 on 11. Like if you're a D tackle, you just play your own position as the D tackle. If you're the right guard and you got to line up against that D tackle on the other side, you just got to handle your own business at this point. The quarterback plays quarterback. It would be actually, you know what, Joe? I would watch that as opposed to the bowl game itself. How about that? But hey, maybe we get that in the future here as things start to move on. Kennesaw State, Western Michigan, Joe. We've heard you say all year long how much you like Kennesaw State. Is it down for one last ride for Joe Ranieri on Kennesaw State in 2025 as they're getting 3.5 in this game?
I listen. It's a toss-up game, although we've seen Kennesaw State getting some love here with the hook available. It was 4.5, but we've also seen that total start to come down here. And there's no reason to think that this is going to be a wild shootout. And we know Kennesaw State they're better offensively than they are defensively. But my goodness, that Western Michigan defense was underrated all year long. Those Broncos have been outstanding. So if you like Western Michigan, you like the under, Donnie. If you like Kennesaw State, boy, is this game flying over the total.
Friday night, Memphis and NC State. Joe, NC State holds strong as a 4.5-point favorite, a total of 58.5. Two teams that actually recognize here, Joe. Who's recognized as the winner when it's all said and done, though?
Best part about this is the Gasparilla part, Donnie. When
get a mortgage and have a Gasparilla.
Yeah, you get a bunch of people hanging out on pirate ships out before the game. That is really, who knew everyone had pirate outfits? Nobody's playing for either team here, by the way. Nobody.
By the way, the kids get a free refi and they're going to waive their closing costs if they win the game. Fantastic. Ooh. I love that.
Ooh, nice.
I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to
these
games.
I'm a fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
In this economy,
they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
They went all in with the Sauce Gardner trade, right? All in. Give you a couple of number one picks here. Then Daniel Jones breaks the leg, and then he tears the Achilles. All right, you're signing Phillip Rivers. Are you kidding me? I mean, by the way, you know what hasn't been talked about enough? Sam Ellinger decided he didn't want to come play for the Colts. Why? You would have been. I know Denver activated him to the roster anyway, but he would have been maybe a starting quarterback this weekend.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
They did it, Joe. They finally did it. The long wait for an NBA championship is over for the New York market. The Knicks, it's been since what, the early 1970s when they claimed the championship? Now in 2025, the Knicks are the champions of the NBA. Some say, Joe, the cup is on equal footing as winning the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Like you get one of those two, you're minted for that season. We're always going to remember, Joe, this New York Knicks team within 50 to 60 years, they did it. They won a championship. But it was the NBA Cup. Yes, they got a little bit more money. Of course, you want to be competitive and win it, which they did. And they won it, Joe, 124 to 113 over the San Antonio Spurs. We love that -2.5 yesterday on the Knicks. They pulled this one out. Why? For a monster fourth quarter. They outscored the San Antonio Spurs 35 to 19 and ran away with this. The Knicks, your Emirates NBA Cup champions of 2025.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Kolek, Mitchell Robinson, and Jordan Clarkson were the guys that were just absolutely huge down the stretch in this game because the Knicks, quite honestly, Donnie, outside of that late run in the third into the fourth quarter, they had trailed this entire game. It was not good, but a 15-3 run to start the fourth quarter, and then they never looked back. And that's what experience gets you, right? I mean, the one thing we always know about this Knicks team is that they had already said as much that they weren't playing this just to play it, like they wanted to win it. And the guys that ended up helping them win it were the guys that benefited the most in their bank accounts with Tyler Kolek, Mitchell Robinson, and Jordan Clarkson. But it was the effort by Brunson and Hart. And, you look at what Karl-Anthony Towns has got a calf issue, and he was trying to get out there every chance he could to help this team win. Give me that how do you bottle that and give me that effort for an 82-game season, Donnie? However you do it, give me more of that.
Yeah, here's the interesting part, too, because Adam Silver was talking about maybe we're going to move this championship in this game to maybe some college markets, which I found interesting because, I always like to preface it where the NBA, the NHL, college football, NFL, they don't do anything for their fans. They might tell, this is great for the fans. No, it's not. Like, great for the fans is not sending your home games to Germany. Great for the fans is, raising ticket prices on a year-to-year basis despite what the team actually is doing on the field. Cue the Jets fans here at this point. But hear me out on this. Like the fact that I thought it was interesting where you moved it to Vegas, and you know what? They actually did it for the players more than the fans themselves. Because to buy in for an NBA season, come on, man, these extra games, like what are we going to do, play in Milwaukee for a championship? No, look at this. Fight your way to Vegas because you know what happens. We're not going to make you play the next night. You're going to go there. You can party. You can relax. If you win the championship, we're going to give you $500,000 in your pocket and go spend it. Players will buy into that. It's like, hey, man, we've been playing for a couple months now. Let's get a nice little reprieve and a mini vacation. If we make it to Vegas and get paid, let's sign up for that. But his thoughts on we might move this around to other colleges at this point, I thought that was kind of interesting because the one thing we do know, Joe, NCAA basketball, Final Fours are ruined. Why? Because they play in aircraft carriers here, or play on aircraft carrier type, airplane hangar, huge football stadiums. If they cared, they was like, you know what? We're going to have a 12,000-seat venue for the NCAA finals, and it would be awesome. Do you think it's interesting that the NBA is like, we got to move it out of Vegas and move it around because maybe we're not selling tickets or it's not hitting home enough? I thought that was an interesting comment and statement by him.
Well, it is, and they realize. Listen, I mean, first of all, timing is awful, right? I mean, you don't know who's going to Vegas until last minute, and it's the holidays where most people have already made plans to go somewhere anyway. So you're not going to get the true experience. And what they talked about, in addition to maybe the college campuses, is the semifinal games instead of put them at the home court of the higher seed, right? Keep the semifinal games on the home courts of the higher seeds and then figure out where it is you're going to put the actual championship game someplace that would be neutral enough so everybody can get involved. Otherwise, Donnie, I mean, you're asking people to drop everything and all of a sudden go out to Vegas you don't even know if they're going to make the finals. So keep the semifinal games in the home buildings of those teams with the higher seeds.
Yeah, because again, if you're doing it for the fans, like, look, the Knicks fans won an NBA championship. We understand that. But also, because these will be like extra bye games, right? Because it's not on the schedule. Like, okay, the NBA championship is going to be played here for the NBA Cup. Like, no, we don't know that. But if they win, it's like, hey, by the way, next Thursday night, we got the Emirates NBA Cup championship at home and the Knicks are in it. That'd be a wildly hot ticket just to be in that building for the atmosphere at that point, and the NBA can build off of that. Same thing as we take a look at the NCAA college football playoffs. I think it's ridiculous that some of these institutions are going to have to go 3 times on the road in a playoff without a home game, even though they're the higher seed. It doesn't make any sense. Hour number 2 is coming up. Let's go to the Knicks press conference and also head into hour number 2 with some style and the hottest topic that you need to know. The Early Line. We'll be right back.